December 12th, 2010. Snow is accumulating on the roof of the Metrodome, home of the Minnesota Vikings. At this moment, the stadium is prepped and ready for a game the next day versus the New York Giants. And then, disaster struck. A camera inside the stadium captures the roof collapse the moment it happens. This isn't the only cursed incident in the stadium's history. In fact, there had been 5 prior incidents with the doomed roof. There are other NFL stadiums that have harbored much worse. Today we're examining the most cursed stadiums in NFL history, and all of that is coming up right after this. MetLife Stadium. MetLife Stadium was opened in 2010, and to say it's been nothing short of a cursed disaster is an understatement. Let's first start with the turf, which was recently upgraded in 2023, but that doesn't change the fact that it was well known that NFL players hate the carpet at MetLife, and it is an injury waiting to happen. Because the stadium is owned by an entity separate from the Jets and the Giants, they initially went cheap on the playing surface. In 2020, the turf monster claimed multiple 49ers to season-ending injuries in a 2-week span, with Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas tearing ACLs right in front of our eyes. Then there was the Aaron Rodgers second snap ever in New Jersey, and Jalen Phillips. Here is a partial list since just 2020 of terrible injuries. Solomon Thomas, Jimmy Garoppolo, Raheem Mostert, Sterling Shepard again, Wan'Dale Robinson, Blake Martinez, Shane Lemieux, Jabril Peppers, Kyle Fuller, and Al Woods. The fact that MetLife is built on top of a New Jersey swamp has nothing to do with how bad the turf is, but maybe that muddy earth along with Jimmy Hoffa's body somewhere brings some type of curse to the stadium. There have also been cursed incidents like in 2012 when a man fell 3 stories from an escalator after a Giants game where he was critically injured. I wonder if he fell or if he jumped. I mean, he is a Giants fan. Oh, let's not forget about the teams that play in MetLife. Yes, the Giants hosted and won a single playoff game there in 2012. And that is the only playoff game to be hosted here in the stadium's entire history. Look it up. The Jets in 2010 played all their playoff games on the road. 2 teams, twice as many chances, and 1 fucking playoff game. The Jets are experiencing the longest playoff drought in their history. Even the Super Bowl that was played here sucked. A blowout in the era of parity. The Jets are 55-68-1 in MetLife, and the Giants 57-67. Oh, and let's not forget the butt fumble happened here. Caesars Superdome. The Superdome has been around for a long time, since 1975, but in its history, a lot of Nolans voodoo has happened in this place. You know, like Hurricane Katrina, which nearly completely tore the roof off of the building. Side note, former Navy sniper Chris Kyle claimed that he and another dude dropped 30 looters from the roof of the Superdome post-Katrina, which is just a wild assertion. There are tons of stories of terrible things that happened inside the dome post-Katrina, and I can't even get into those because of monetization. The stadium suffered a power outage during Super Bowl 47, the first delay of the big game due to power failure in NFL history. And in 2021, the roof caught fire when workers were cleaning it and their pressure washer exploded. Of course, just recently, the New Year's Day tragedy, which took the lives of innocent partygoers, resulting in the CFP semifinal being delayed. Allegedly, the Superdome is built on the site of the old Girard Street Cemetery, so that makes a lot of sense that there are bones buried beneath these walls. They say that they lifted the curse via voodoo in 2000, but I mean, all the shit I listed has happened since then. And also, the Saints play here. The Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. We opened the video with the Metrodome, but the curse of this building goes beyond its roof issues. The curse has more to do with the on-field product. Yes, the roof was doomed from the start. Whose idea was it to put a fabric tension roof that was held up by air pressure in a cold weather city? Prior to the collapse, incidents included roof tears, holes, and partial collapses. It was cursed from the start. Then we have to talk about the Vikings. They played in the Dome from 1982 to 2010, and though they won the first playoff game they ever played there, they lost at least 1 playoff contest in the Dome for each subsequent decade, the most heartbreaking being the 1999 NFC Championship game. Yes, the building did see 2 World Series championships, but those are the most tainted World Series wins of all time, being that the home field advantage for the Metrodome's white ceiling was distinct, especially before interleague play. The building was bulldozed in 2013 after a 30-year period which didn't see the Vikings make a single Super Bowl. They rebuilt their new, stronger stadium on the same spot, and that hosted a Super Bowl, which is also cursed because the fucking Eagles won it there. FedEx Field. Look, I don't care what they changed the name of this field to, Northwest or whatnot. It's still fucking FedEx Field, okay? And if you thought that MetLife had a cursed injury history, it's well documented about this place snatching people's legs and nearly trying to kill them. Literally. Joe Burrow, ACL. All-Day Peterson, ACL. RJ3, ACL. Chase Young, ACL. Kyle Allen, leg. Ryan Fitzpatrick, hip. And the absolutely most frightening injury of maybe all time, Alex Smith. His entire leg was thrown into an industrial shredder. You had scandals in the building, ticket scams, rails collapsing, sewage drains, clogged toilets, a 1-3 playoff record for the Commander Skins, who are 106, 1-19, and 1 here overall. Jack Kent Cooke opened the place in 1997 and then immediately died, giving way to one of the worst owners in NFL history, Dan Snyder. I mean, Dan Snyder, same difference. Veterans Stadium. Not only was the Vet perhaps the quintessential example of a concrete dual-use donut, but unlike a donut you would sit on for your hemorrhoids, this stadium was never comforting. That's a wild reference. The Vet opened in 1971, 3 years after they booed Santa, and it was one of the first stadiums to have its own jail inside of it, and trust me, they needed it. There were so many mice that the stadium used cats to control the mouse population. A scandal involving a hole in the wall allowed visiting players to peep into the cheerleaders' showers from 1993 to 2002. Yeah, that happened. South Philly was also awful at the time of the Vet, with multiple abandoned stadiums and run-down neighborhoods. It's gotten better since. I've been there. It's nice. But the curse of the Vet spilled over onto the playing field, as for 32 years the Eagles never won a Super Bowl despite being wildly successful in the regular season and even the playoffs. They also discovered cancer-causing chemicals in the old turf at the Vet. The Vet was finally imploded in 2003, and this was the least violent incident to happen in the building, as fights were more common during games than people pissing in the sinks. Before we get to our #1 most cursed stadium, quick honorable mention to the Pontiac Silverdome, which was the cursed home of the Detroit Lions. It hosted Super Bowl 16 and then fell into disrepair and ultimately was abandoned and left rotting for dead. It's well documented. I just thought it was cliche to talk about the stadium that is the poster child of failure. And finally, our most cursed stadium, Huntington Bank Field. Previously known as First Energy Field and Cleveland Browns Stadium before that, it doesn't matter what the fucking name of this place is because it is cursed. Cursed with being owned first by the Lerners and then Jimmy Haslam. It was opened in 1999. The most famous game to ever be played here happened 2 years later, Bottlegate, in which the NFL refs actually made the correct call, but a malfunction didn't signal for a review in time on a 4th down conversion, causing a near riot in the building. In 2022, some dickhead broke into the stadium and then cut donuts into the turf with a golf cart. Apparently they caught the guy. He was some 21-year-old knucklehead. Vandalism has been the least of the Browns' problems, as this field witnessed an 0-16 season. Every QB with a pulse start a game for them, the wasting of talent like Joe Thomas and Myles Garrett, and blowing games in spectacular fashion. There's a reason why they call this place the Factory of Sadness. I haven't even mentioned Groper Cleveland, his awful contract, and his karmatic injury woes. But here is the most cursed part. The stat I find so incredulous, so unbelievable. This building has never, not once, hosted a playoff game. It's 2025. The 2 other active stadiums that haven't hosted a playoff game, Las Vegas and Atlanta, those stadiums hosted Super Bowls, and this stadium will never fucking host one of those. Yeah, a Super Bowl in Cleveland, it's more likely that Brandon Perna dunks a basketball before this place gets the big game. And with new plans in the works to build a stadium in Brookfield Park, it's quite possible, with how shitty the Browns are right now, that this stadium goes through its entire multi-decade life without hosting one single playoff game, nor hoisting a single division title banner. Losing like that is just cursed.